So here comes the manual part. Usually once I'm down to about twice as many colors as I want to end up with, this is where I start to get into really strong manual control of the situation. And the first thing I like to do is give myself a clearer view of just how similar some of these colors are to one another, because that's what we want to do, is we want to eliminate colors that are really similar to other colors. So here's how I would do that. The first thing I would do is I would leave this part of the palette editor down here, which is for RGB manipulation, and I would go to this tool set because that gives me functions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to sort, and I'm going to sort it by any of these things that are going to give me gradients, but the best one tends to be sort by color. And then I'm going to choose remap, and now that cleaned the image back up and is now a very organized palette, and you can see within the palette just how close some of these colors are. And now at this point you could even, if you know what sort of device you're color reducing for, you can even, a great feature with Pro Motion is you can modify the channel, the bit depth. And this will give you an even better view of how many colors you tend to be wasting that can't even be displayed on the device that you're porting this image for. So for example, maybe the depth is something like 6.6 or 6.56 or something. Just as an example, we'll go with this. And so now, basically, if there were any two colors that were so close together that the device wouldn't even know the difference, they now look like they're the same color. I don't think any of these colors were that close together, but I mean, you can see that these are really close together, and if you are developing for a mobile device with its own screen that's going to be viewed outdoors half the time or most of the time, there's color subtleties in here that are never going to be seen except under the most ideal conditions, which is pretty much never going to happen. So anyway, now that it is that well arranged, I can really, what I like to do is pull up the palette by pressing T by default to edit RGB table. And I like to have the image as visible as possible, so I can arrange this stuff however I need it to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply, and it's also good to have this visible, the palette editor, because the palette editor shows you the colors without any borders in between, and that is the best way to see exactly how similar two colors are. And as you can see here, these two colors at the end are incredibly similar to one another. So I'm going to keep an eye here to make sure I'm not doing too much damage, but I'm also going to be looking here to see how similar colors are. And I'm just going to start by pressing the color and then the C key for copy. I'm going to copy one color into a color that it's extremely similar to. Same thing with these two colors. I'm just going to pick one of them and copy it into the other. Now, as I do this, eventually I'm going to have several colors that are copies, sort of redundant copies of each other, but they're still being used in the image. Even though they're the same RGB value, the pixels are still pointing to two different indices. So after a lot of this manual work here, I'll just continue on. Like, even though her lime green eyes are very important, we don't need, for those few pixels, we don't need a bajillion variations of lime green. So I'm just going to very quickly reduce out how many different lime green variations we're using. I also know that this sort of blue artifacting was created by medium softening in Photoshop, and it's not really relevant to the image, so I can just totally eradicate those really dark blues, and as long as we keep the lime green, that's looking great. Same thing with these purples. These two are incredibly similar to one another. These two are similar enough, and if they're quite close but not exactly, and it's hard for you to choose which one to keep and copy onto the other one, what I love to do, which gives you even more control, is to use a blank part of the palette. By now you should have plenty of these black indices. And I copy to one spot, and I copy the other color to the other spot near it with one space in between. And then I click on the first color, click on R for ramp, and click on the second color. And what that did is it created an exact average between the two. I would then copy that average over both colors. So instead of picking one of the two, I actually created something halfway in between the two to copy into both indices. So once I do this as much as I think I can in one go, I'll simply click OK. And then the important thing to do is go into Colors, remove duplicate colors. And as you can see, all those black pixels are pixels that we're using colors that are duplicates of each other. And then I'm going to click Remap Colors, and then I can go into Colors, remove unused colors, and it's going to tell me how many colors are now being used. So instead of 64, I've now got 50. So I removed 14 colors according to my map. So we'll continue on.